an embarrassing defeat for Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley on Tuesday, as projections in Nevada's primary show her losing to ballots marked none of these candidates. Donald Trump was not on the state-run ballot, and many of those who chose to vote against Haley were supporters of the former president, like this man.
Well, I actually voted for none of the above here because the primary here didn't include all of the people, and I'll be going in Thursday for the caucus to vote for Trump.
There are 2 Republican ballots because a state law requires a primary to be held, but presidential nominating caucuses are run by state political parties, not the state. And the Trump-friendly Nevada Republican Party are holding their caucus separately on February the 8th. Trump will be on that ballot, but not Haley. Last week, Trump urged Nevada voters to ignore the primary on Tuesday and only vote in Thursday's caucus. With over 2/3 of Tuesday's ballots counted, Haley had 32% of the votes. The projected winner was none of these candidates, with over 61% support, according to pollster Edison Research. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden easily won the state's Democratic primary after dominating his party's first nominating race in South Carolina on Saturday. Some who backed Biden said they're just hoping to stop Trump from getting back into the White House.
I think he's a little less evil than Trump, just to be honest.
Time does matter. I don't want Trump in there at all.
With more than 70% of votes counted, Biden had 90% support. As the incumbent president, Biden faces little opposition from within his own party to run for re-election.
And I thought, yeah, and I think that oh, you know what? It's too bad I didn't think of this ahead of time, but I could have pulled up my... This is something that probably a lot of people didn't see coming, but some of us did really see it coming. Nevada has this really unusual feature of our ballots where for presidential races, we allow our voters to register their dissent about their choices by selecting none of these candidates. And over the history of Nevada, it has kind of come up once in a while as having kind of an effect on some outcomes, particularly in primaries. But this is something that certainly can be weaponized in this very unusual situation that we've found ourselves in this primary season. Stuff that's going on in Gaza, I have a strong feeling that what is happening behind this. So we've had, on many interviews and many statements, the head of the Nevada Republican Party coming out and saying, we're going to run this caucus, we're going to be able to guarantee that Trump will get all of Nevada's delegates, and also you should vote in the primary against Nikki Haley. And so it's not very easy to kind of separate those two messages, even though it might not have come directly from Trump himself. It was certainly that message was coming from many allies.
Trump or Nikki or...
this is statistics. The Republicans went so hard on the crap economy and making fun of Biden. I think they really underestimated the danger for her, because it's easy to say, Trump's not in this primary, so clearly we're going to win. But the one missing piece is the none of these candidates. So, it was my argument ahead of time that probably investing at least a little bit in the state might have really avoided this problem, because her campaign could have mobilized people, not just people who were kind of in the Trump base, but more moderate Republicans, independents, because they're able to change their registration at the polling place.
Go and make these attacks, or watching Hamas make these attacks, coming out, watching the Houthis in Yemen. Go after the source of where they're doing it. Take away their stockpile. Is Nikki Haley going to drop out? Eventually, probably.
The decision to keep a campaign going or not, it has a lot to do with context, right? And if it were just a matter of if she sees a path to winning or not, I think she would have dropped out before. But this is no normal cycle. As you probably know, it sure looks like Mr. Trump is going to be facing all sorts of felony trials, probably more than one of which is going to happen before the election. This changes things immensely.
I don't know if you can hear me because they don't allow mics, but this is a political witch hunt, the likes of which nobody's ever seen before.
We've seen stuff bounce off of Mr. Trump before, and as much as we see polls that are saying, I'll vote for Trump, but if he's convicted of a felony, I won't, we've seen that goalpost move before, right? And so, if it's that, if he's convicted of felonies, it might leave an opening for somebody else. But this 14th Amendment case would immediately just disqualify him. So I would be absolutely surprised if she were to drop out before that case is settled.
This was totally unannounced. Nobody knew we were coming. I hope the press is going to cover it fairly because nobody gets crowds like this.
He'll obviously, percentage-wise, do incredibly well, particularly compared to, Ms. Haley, who lost to nobody. But still, it's going to be lower turnout, right? Because it's a caucus, and that's how caucuses work. And so I think everybody will leave Nevada sort of shaking their heads in confusion because, kind of thinking, what just happened, right? Why do we have a primary and a caucus? How did a ghost win against an actual person who's a candidate? Why wasn't Trump on my ballot, right? Why did I have to go to the elementary school down the street on a Thursday evening to vote for Trump when I could have voted for everybody else on the ballot? So I think it's just, it's going to be maybe a wash, but I think it's something that could have benefited the Haley campaign had they tried something here. I can type something. I have the words louded.